Hey, okay, so I'm still quite catching up on videos from questions that people have left under other videos. So um, this video, the question was left under was titled, "You Have to Choose Fear to Be in Fear." And I think it's an older video, but the person posted this question 3 weeks ago, so I can't apologize. Um, and I think it's Kiki Light 8. Thank you for leaving your question. I greatly appreciate that. The question, or what it states, is I found you through listening to GM Wolf, dear friend. Says, I would be very interested in hearing what you've learned and how you practice processes, whatever you call it, has changed since your work with GM Wolf. My thought process on a lot of stuff has changed actually since I've worked with him, and just getting to know him changes who you are as a person, which is interesting and cool. But what have I learned? I've learned a lot of stuff. Like I will go back and listen to videos, my videos with him, and one of them I didn't post because there was a lot of world insights. We got to off track, like way off track, talking about the world and just some of the stuff that he knows is going on and isn't really out there. So I didn't post that video, but just having insights into things that I wouldn't normally have has changed my awareness about what's going on the planet pretty drastically, I would say, and with zero fear. Right? Zero fear. My level of fear went down when my brother died, and that experience, seeing him as a tangible spirit, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. When he showed up in front of me and told me that everything I knew was a lie, the level of fear because of the peace he left me with. So all my fear was transmuted into peace in an instant, and it never left me. It's always been like that ever since. But that's only gotten deeper and deeper with my practice of heart coherence. And then in talking to GM, like he'll bring up stuff that, you know, maybe some people would have a fear issue with. And I'm just like, well, it just is what it is, right? Zero fear. Zero fear is huge, right? If you could choose peace or fear, which would you choose? And you can choose once you know how to do the work of heart coherence, and then doing it consistently will create peace inside your system that, right? Ancient texts call it the peace that passes all understanding. It literally makes no sense in this plane, in this state of being that we're in as, you know, a human. But once you get it and you don't let it go, it's quite amazing. One of the things I have taken from him that I've taken really seriously, that I try and implement through a lot of things, and I'm implementing more into the physical world around me now instead of just the internal, is simplicity. Simplicity. If you listen to him and his rantings sometimes, you know, and the word God will come out or come up. I grew up in a Christian household, right? He grew up in Tibet and different areas. I grew up under a really rigid Christian structure that was Bible banging and memorizing, and like you got to go every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night kind of thing, and to all the eating meetings and all the stuff, right? My granddaddy was a preacher. And my mother was horrifying because the Bible to her was something to beat you with, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Sometimes you got whacked up the head with it. So, but you say the word God in front of him and he just busts up laughing, and he's like, fucking, I mean, he'll literally cuss. He'll literally, and it makes me laugh. I'm just like, yeah, I know, like I know at this point. But the simplicity of understanding what this is versus what I was taught, that simplicity, the simplicity of how you can utilize what is understood instead of utilizing all these crazy protocols that people make up for whatever reason, that have all these wild steps and rigid, you can't do this, you can't do that if you miss this step. And if you've ever taken a class, which I have I don't even know how many certifications in energy work, in energy psychology, stuff like Psych K, different levels of all kinds of different protocols. It's mind-boggling how tediously structured they are. And one of them literally, the trainer literally taught us that if you missed a step, it was like spending money out of the bank, but you had to put it back in the account somehow. Like, you can't miss a step. If you do, it might not make a big difference, but it might cause great harm. Like, you didn't know. And it was just like, what the heck? Like, but seeing through it, I was actually shown what part of that process was the actual key to the whole thing. And if you just did that, right, and that whole turned out to be the whole brain state. So if you understood a whole brain state and you understand a whole brain posture, how to get into it, that whole process is built around that concept, and everything else is added on. I don't know why. I mean, it's crazy, right? You can make it do what they say you can make it do, but is it necessary? Right? I take it back to the simplicity of the nature of all these things. One of the things he says is there's only two things. And when I first heard him say that, I'm looking around me going, no, there's like 500,000 things. There's like all these things. He goes, there's only two things. There's matter, which is all these 500,000 things I was talking about, and that which animates matter. If you just took a little bit and sat down and contemplated that, and even took it into your heart and just sat and let it sit there, just kind of look at it from your heart space, it's actually mind-blowing. Because what you will find out is that which animates matter is what Mooji, if you know who Mooji is, it's what Mooji calls your beingness. Right? It's what some people would call your higher self, your internal self, your God self, right? Call it whatever you want to call it. But it's that thing, I call it my spirit, that thing that animates this matter. That's what I am. I am not the matter. I'm in the matter, but I am not the matter. What did Yeshua say? I'm in the world, but I'm not of the world. That's what he was talking about. There's matter and that which animates matter. So put your awareness, right? Put your awareness on what you want. It's quite magical. Another one of the things I've learned from him is consistency in your doing. Consistency in your doing, and that's not really how he says it. He talks about it in kind of long circles, but that was my takeaway, is consistency in my doing. And I've talked about this before. I've recognized it before because of what other teachers and people I've stood in front of have said. If you understood, this one blew my mind. If you understood the depth of practice, and it was actually a Satanist who said that, who walked away from their gig. I can't think of his name, but he said, if you understood the depth of practice, the consistency in the doing of what they do and how they do it, the rigid structure in the rituals and that Satanists go through to get them to the place of power that they can be in. If you understood the depth of that, and then you look at and he related it to the Christian walk, you Sunday morning Christians. Think about that for a second. Now, we were forced to go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, blah, 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 blah. But outside of that, in our home, we didn't pray. We didn't sit down and read the Bible together. We didn't, like, the list of didn'ts were huge. We got it thrown in our face if we did something that my mom thought was against that, which actually ended up turning all of my brothers and my father into an atheist, into what they say are atheists, which I find funny and amusing, and led me in the path that I've gone in. Part of that did that. But I think the most interesting thing in that is that we don't take the time to do the thing that would get us to what we really want. How often do you do the practice? So He was teaching me how to get out of my body. And it's not hard. Like, this is the simplest thing to do if you do the practice. The practice isn't even hard. It's just doing it. Cracked me up. And he goes, and you can already get out of your body. He's like, you've told me story after story after story where, like, I'll meet up with him on, I don't know, walking across the cosmos somewhere. I'll meet up with, somebody else. I meet up with my brother. I've met I don't know. It's crazy to me. He's like, you do it all the time. You just don't know you're doing it. Why do you make it so hard? So that put it back into the simplicity of it. Like, just recognize you already can do it. So the consistency that you practice, right? He's always practicing his quiet state of mind, that beating the minute mark on staying quiet in your mind. When a true meditation is just the quietness inside your heart space and just being there. And if you move through it, you can go other places, right? GM actually says that if you could stay in that state for 1 minute, you would be fully enlightened. He's also said that you are already fully enlightened. Not the matter part, but that which animates matter. All you got to do is realize you are that. And then walk in that, talk in that, be that, right? Become more of that, become more of that, and less of the awareness and the attention gets paid necessarily to the matter around you. Does that make sense? Another thing I've learned from him, this is like, I have a good friend named Debbie. Love Debbie dearly. And she figured out the past life thing before I could say, do I get it? Do I not get it? Do I believe in it? Do I not believe in it? Whatever. And so I don't believe in past lives. Didn't believe in past lives. But I could tell people about their past lives. So when I'd be doing a session with somebody, sometimes a past life and some kind of information would come through, and it would be necessary to relay it in order to get to whatever point we were trying to get to. And so I would say to them, now, I don't necessarily believe in past lives, but let me tell you what is showing up. And they would be all in. They're just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, seriously? I didn't get it. What has shown up working with GM, because he literally put me, I'm going to say he put me in a trance. He helped me get into a trance. I don't even know. I went into a state, opened a door, walked through the door, walked through a light. I had my, what I'm going to guess is an animal guide by what most consider that kind of stuff, which is a wolf, oddly enough. He thought that was interesting and strange. But we walked back to this past life that occurred in, like, I want to say it was in 686 AD or something is the time frame I got. But what was going on there was, I could see, I was there. I can still go back there and be there like I'm there. I can smell the smoke. I can hear the wolves. I can see the people. I know who I was. I know what I was doing. I was a forerunner for these people, and I was kind of a guide and a guard. And the wolf pack that I had that ran with me was literally raised by me. I found him somewhere. The mother had got killed. Something had happened. So I took all the cubs in and raised them. And they stayed with me through that. The one that still walks with me was the one that died with me on a mountaintop as I watched our village burn. And that's kind of where I carry my lung issues from, is what I understood. Are past lives real? I can't deny that one. I can't deny it. I can smell it. I can see it. I can taste it. I can hear it. Right? He took me to another one where him and I both were, and he was just talking about it. He's like, he had said something to me in one of our conversations. I was like, oh, maybe we knew each other in past life. Ha, ha, ha. And like, I'm thinking it's a joke. And he goes, yeah. We actually, quite a few times. I'm like, oh, what? And then he started talking about it, and I was right there. I was like, oh, holy cow. right? And he was working for a master and I was working for something, and we met because of the exchange of what was going on. I don't know, right? So what have I learned? What have I changed about the way I do things? That would be one of the things that I've definitely changed thought processes on. Understanding that you can connect without being in front of somebody is huge, right? Without stealing their energy, without taking something from them, without bothering them. Because when we think of that kind of connecting, we usually think of face-to-face interaction or over the phone or like this kind of a thing. And people will tell you about energy vampires and how, oh, they're stealing my energy. Nobody's stealing your energy. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but nobody's stealing your energy. That's a whole nother topic. We won't go into it. But I can call him up, literally call him up, in my mind's eye, in my heart. And all of a sudden we're walking across the cosmos somewhere. And he's telling me whatever, and I'm telling him whatever, and we're always laughter, always tears, always laughter, always. And it's not, I can't even explain it. And I've done it with other entities. I've done it with other beings. My brother shows up, just shows up. We go for a walk, talk about whatever. Everything's fine. I'm not stealing anything. I'm not taking anything. We're in that form. It's just different than this form. And you think somebody's stealing energy from you because of the interaction that you're in with them. Change the interaction, which sometimes means you got to change the person. But in spirit form, that does not occur. That does not occur. What else have I learned from him? I don't know, so many things. How to be calm in the midst of my peace. This is a funny one. This is actually, I find this really interesting and funny. You'll find peace and you'll get into a state of peace and you'll be in your calmness, and it's amazing to be in that state. And then I'll go looking for something to rile myself up with. What is that, right? There's actually a name in psychology for it that I'm not going to think of. But it's the idea that you can't remain in a calm place, because I did not grow up in calmness. I grew up, there's always turmoil, always craziness, always like something was going on. My mom was always pitting us against each other, right? We never knew what was happening or what was true or what, I mean, it wasn't even a question. We just flat out didn't know. It was just always like, don't mess with that one. Don't go stand over there. Don't, right? Everything was don't. And now it's just be. I don't have to don't. I don't have to participate in a lot of things internally and externally that I used to participate in just from having listened to him and known him. Yeah, it's interesting. I would say to people who are seeking, seek your heart first, right? Yeshua said, another thing that Yeshua said, and I go stand with him a lot also, another thing that Yeshua said is heaven is in your heart. Heaven is in your heart, right? Your peace that passes all understanding, it's inside you. It's in your heart space. There is a song we used to sing. I had it in my head just now, and now it's already gone. Oh, funny. Yeah, it totally left me. But if you seek that first, seek ye first. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will come unto you, right? So it's a verse, it's a song. I think it was a verse before it was a song. But if you seek that first, you're seeking inside your heart space. Heaven is in your heart. That place that Yeshua is calling heaven, I call it a space, right? The space in your heart. Go into your heart space. Isn't really a space. It's your spirit. It's the internal, eternal part of you. It doesn't do the rest of this stuff. It's here with you, the mental, physical matter part of you, but it doesn't do that stuff. It resonates in what we would call, from a Christian aspect, the attributes of God. That's it. It's peace, joy, satisfaction, love, gratitude. And those things that we have labeled and come to understand from an earthly standpoint, from a spirit standpoint, are not the same. The peace that passes all understanding is not caused because a war was solved. Gratitude that is your spirit does not come by way of receiving something or giving something. Love. And love to me is like the summation of all the frequencies and all of the aspects of all of this stuff. Everything that everything is made out of. Unconditional love is not what you were taught. It is the highest level, like an overtone of all the frequencies. When played together at the right hertz, right? It's amazing. It's what your spirit is. It's not something you go do. It's not something you have to produce something to get back. Does it make sense? That's what I have on that. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have questions, leave them below. I will answer those questions as I can. And I tried really hard to stay on top of it, and I lost control of it the last few weeks, but I'll get back on it. I hope this helps. If it does, please leave a comment below because that helps these videos move. Thank you. Peace be with you.